Hello you guys, how you all doing? So today's video is a little bit different. I figured I might show you guys how you can set up your own custom keyboard shortcuts, to create a secondary macro key keyboard, and that's why this keyboard is making a return. You might remember it from my unboxing video of this keyboard, of this genius one that's below it currently, and I figured that I might show you how you can set up a fully custom macro keyboard using the secondary keyboard, obviously. So you see some files over here, you can just ignore those, it's not important. The thing that's important, I'm going to show you a little bit of an example, if you will. Let me just change one thing before we do that. Set it to always on top so it doesn't disappear. I'll run this script that you see on the right side, and I'll press, for example, the control key over here. And what will open up is it will open up my PC.fm with my downloads folder. Again, I'll press Control, don't press anything else, just press Control, it will open up right away with my downloads folder. Then I'll press, for example, the up arrow. Of course, you need to be also the script, so press the up arrow and it will, most likely, after some time. Where's the other terminal? Or has it already been opened? Okay, let's just close it and let's press the up arrow again. As you can see, boom, it opens up. So sometimes you need to just close apps and make sure that your focus isn't captured. So you'll notice that sometimes it just won't work, sometimes, see, it works now. It's a bit finicky, sometimes it just doesn't pick up, but that's also because I'm recording most likely. Then if I press the right key, it will open up my VS Code editor. See, it will open up just by pressing that one key. So with that small demonstration of the way, how do you actually go about setting up something like this? So for me, what I like to do is I like to set up, I haven't set it up as a startup script, but you might want to do this. I'm not going to show you how, obviously, but I just want to show you the basic setup for setting it up like this. So let's actually go and let's actually zoom in on this one because we'll need a bit more so you guys can see everything. So after that small demonstration, what do you actually need to do in order to set it up like this? Well, first you need to install some apps. So the apps you're going to have to install are these apps: xorg-xinput, evtest, and x.tool. Once you install these, I'll just type in my password real quick. It doesn't really matter if you guys can see it because it's my own custom one, so it doesn't matter. But there you go, you have to install these tools. I'm not gonna install them since I already have them. So next we need to create a UDEF file. A UDEF file is basically a file that Linux uses to identify various input devices. And you can create your own custom one if you really need to. The one that we will be creating is, I'll be using the Pulma or Pluma, not sure. It's Pluma, not Pulma. Pluma. There we go, Pluma. And what you wanna do is you wanna create a file that's called something like this. It will be under etc udef hwdb.d, and you wanna name it whatever you want. I recommend having it under a name something like this, so you know that it's for your secondary keyboard. You can also have this for multiple keyboards if you wanna have, even more keyboards than just one. So it's up to you. So basically what you wanna do is you wanna, but it will be a bit of a problem to distinguish between them. For me, one extra keyboard is fine for my shortcuts, for example. So I have this file here, I'm going to open up in Pluma, and what this file is, it's basically a file that contains evdev input. So basically it's kind of looking like this, but I'll explain what each and every part of this file is. So first you need to have is evdev followed by the double dots, and then have input, and after input put the another double dots in and follow it by B, and then a star sign. Now you want to put a star sign and then followed by a V. The V is the vendor ID of your keyboard or of the secondary device. And then the P is the product ID, followed by the number, which is the product ID, then E, and then ended with a star. So basically, what you want to do to figure this out is type in ls USB. And once you type that in, you want to look for the device that you want to set. So for example, for me it's this Trust keyboard over here. And its product ID, with its vendor ID, it is 145F. So that's what I have over here, 145F. It has to be capitalized because UDEV doesn't detect it if it's lowercase. So make sure you type it in uppercase, so 145F. And then the product ID is the second number over here, which is, in my case, 0 to 17. So you want to type in 0 to 17 after the P. So once you've done that, we need to actually figure out what sort of key codes our keyboard is sending. To figure that out, we have to do ls and go to /, type in dev, and then input. And if you write this, you can see all these, and if you execute this, you'll see all of these events over here. Now what these events are basically events that Linux uses to listen to various inputs from various devices. But this doesn't give us much of information. Basically, these are virtual interfaces to the hardware itself, so to your keyboards, mouse, and something like that. And we need to figure out which of these events are mapped to which device. So to do that, we can list out actually the contents of the by ID folder. If you run this, you'll notice it lists out these IDs. And you might already notice that we have these 0F1 and other things in here. You might notice that here's my keyboard, which is the Sonix GTX 890 keyboard. It has two events in here, but we do not know to which event it's mapped. To figure that out, you want to run this command with a L parameter, which is like this, so -L. Once you run this, you'll notice that that pretty much it's linked to those. So basically, all of what these are just links to all of these events. So we need to figure out which one of these is ours. And in my case, it's under event 7. So what you want to do is, since we've managed to identify the event for our second keyboard, you want to make sure that you run a command that will pretty much test if we have if we get any sort of key codes. And to do that, you want to run I'm looking at my notes right now because it's not that easy to remember. You want to run EV test on the event. To do that, you want to do it like this. You want to do EV test, do /dev, then followed by input, followed by event, and you wanna change, and you wanna select the event which you have. In my case, it's event 7. So if I run this, it will say you need sudo permission. So I need to run this as sudo in order to make sure it runs. So type in sudo ev test and then dev input and event, and change the event number according to your keyboard. Once you run this, it will ask you for a password, so just type it in. I might have mistyped it. Yep, I did. So once you run this, it will show up with this sort of crazy thing on your screen. Don't worry, it's just testing for the key codes. And you could have actually just looked up here and see all the key codes and just figure out which one is yours. But to make this a bit more interesting, you can also see these F13 to F24 keys. I will get to those later. So what you want to do is you want to just start pressing certain keys. So for example, if I start pressing keys, you'll see these crazy values popping up. And what you want to look for example, if I press the up arrow, it will generate these lines over here that I'm currently highlighting. And what you want to look for in this section is the value section. Now the value section, you want to remember the number of it. So for example, it's 70,052. So you want to remember that. So we're going to close that. And what we want to do is we want to go back into our file. So what we want to do is we want to open up our file again. Which, as you can see, it's open. You want to open it as sudo, obviously. So let me open it up as sudo so we can see everything like you would edit it. So we're going to open it up, for example, in Pluma as sudo, and you will notice that I've already changed it. And for me, the value for the up arrow was 70,052. So you want to type. So you basically want to type that in, and you're pretty much in the clear. And you want to set it to the F13 key. What the F13 key is, it's basically a key that is not visible on the keyboard itself. It is on the keyboard itself, but you cannot see it. So that's that. So you need to remember that. Once you set it up, you can save the file with Ctrl+S, close it, and you might think, okay, that's enough. That's all I have to do, right? Well, not at all, not exactly. What you need to do is we need to make it so that it, adjusts to the changes, so it like reloads all our devices. And to do so, you want to run these two commands, which I'm going to show you on screen right now. The first one, which is sudo systemd hvdb update, and sudo udev adm trigger verbose sysname -match equals event star within these quotes. Once you run this, it will show up with this scary flickamagic, and the reason why we run it like this is you want to check if it has any sort of errors. I was trying to figure out a error, which turned out to be a simple typo. So it's helpful. If you get any errors, it will show you on which line in the file the errors were. If you see a clean output, something like this, you should be good to go. So after having set up all our keys, what we can do is we need to set up the script. And to set up the script is actually really easy. So let me just clear the output out. So to set up the script, we need to run the x input test. So what we need to do is we need to run the command x input test. So I'm going to run it. And it says that it needs the device ID or the device name. Well, you see, we need to figure out the name for our device. To do that, we need to run x input, I think it was list. Yeah, x input list, and what you want to look for is for the keyboard itself. So the keyboard itself is, for example, over here. For me, it's under ID 12. Normally people would make custom like shortcuts and stuff to, well, not shortcuts, like arguments to simplify the output, but I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. So with that out of the way, we're going to create now two scripts actually. The first one will be a key listener script that will listen to our key inputs, and it will activate another script. The other script will be input action, and what that will do is it will execute certain commands based on our key presses from the secondary keyboard. So I have them both open over here, and pretty much what this script is. Let me explain what each part of this is. So you might notice that here I have this dev id equal 12. I have written here that you need to change it based on the x input list command. So if I bring this up again and lower this down a little, you will notice that my x input command result was id equal 12. So that's what you will type in for your device. Once you type this in, you are pretty much in the clear, but not exactly. What you need to do is you need to test the inputs that it's taking and releasing from the secondary keyboard. So the way you will know that you've selected the right device is actually really easy. What you type in is x input test and type in the device ID, which in our case is 12. If I type this in, nothing will see. It might seem that it's doing nothing. That's fine. That's supposed to look like that. Let's say I press the up arrow. See how it says key press and release 191? So that's the up arrow. For example, the left arrow will say 113, so it says 113. Now if I press right, it says 114. If I press down, it says 116, and if I press control, it says 105. So you want to remember these and change these based on what you want to do. And what this is, it pretty much takes, it will pretty much read the output of this, which is, for example, release 105, and will store it into the in variable. And if the in variable, which is over here in every single line, is equal to key press 105, for example, is equal to key press 105 as it was if I press control, it will check like, hey, it's equal to this. So what it will do is it will actually execute a script followed by a specific tag. These tags are specific for a reason. I will mention that in a sec. So once you've set this up, the script should pretty much be set up already like this. And you can keep on adding more and more keys if you want to. For example, I only had this up key and I added these only based on what I needed so far. So, you know, you can map all of your keys like this. You just need to figure out the key codes. So you can pretty much map your entire keyboard as a macro keyboard using this method. Next, you want to create the input action script. The input action.sh file is a script that takes in the word from the position right after the script's name, which is actually the second column. So when you type in commands, it's actually like this one is the first column and this is the second column, but computers count from 0 and up. We count 1, 2, they count 0, 1. So we need to take it from position 1. So in our case, on position 1 we have up. So what we are doing here is we are actually looking for the variable button, and if the button is equal to up, then what we want to do is run this command. The XDO tool is actually used to execute keyboard shortcuts, so you can execute keyboard shortcuts like this. But in order to make it work, you need to run the key listener application or the script itself, which is why I had this window open with the key listener script running. So if I run this, you'll notice that it's running. Right now it doesn't do nothing. In your eyes it does nothing. I don't know. So if I press up now, for example, yeah, so it will open up, so you cannot be focused on anything so far. Let's say I want to open, for example, my file manager, so I have to press down. So I press down and it opens up my file manager, see? Then, for example, I want to, for example, open, I don't know, let's say I want to open my code editor. I press right and it will open my code editor. See, it opens up my code editor. Then what we want to do is, for example, you don't even have to set up like keyboard shortcuts like this. You can actually set up entire like lines or entire scripts in here. So for example, I have this command whenever I press the right control key, which is something I added in here. So if I run this, so if I press the control key, it will open up my downloads folder from inside of my file manager. So I press it, as you can see, it opens up my downloads folder, see? And I can keep on launching apps like I need to. For example, I press the up key, see it did nothing. Sometimes it's like really finicky, so if I press right, it should open my code editor, as you can see it does. So sometimes it does register, but sometimes it also like doesn't. Yeah, or maybe I can open up Firefox, for example, by pressing the left key, or the left arrow, if you will. Like, it takes a while to execute things, especially if I'm trying to, you know, do stuff with it. But yeah, you saw it, like, PC1FM opens just fine, code editor opens just fine. For example, my Firefox browser doesn't want to open, my terminal doesn't want to open, not sure why that is. But yeah, it's working, as you can see. That's all the setup you have to have. The only thing you need to like do is make it so, and also if you like try and press these keys, it won't do anything. So you can just keep on pressing these, nothing will change. So you need to have that script running. So I always have it turned on in the background. I can just press one key, for example the left key, to open up Firefox. As you can see, it does actually work now. Don't know why it didn't work. See, now it works fine. Let's say I want to open what was I able to open? The terminal. I press the up key and now it works. So sometimes you need to just restart it, so you can just restart it, it will work right away. So it's always like, sometimes the script will work, so you just have to restart it, but it's a small little thing and it works just fine. So I would recommend that you set it up so you can start it up manually and then use it. But for me it works just fine. I can open up my file manager if I really need to, you know, and I can do stuff if I really want to. I can also open my file manager separately in my home directory right now, so that works. And you can go nuts with this. You don't even have to like have it set up like I have. You can do a lot of things with this. So yeah, I might go edit this video now. Thank all of you for watching. Please subscribe, share it around, and I will see all of you beautiful people next time. Also, one more thing, all of the things in this tutorial are in my GitHub page down below, so I hope to see all of you there. Bye.